I want to say a few words about the UCCNC user interface, what's wrong on it and what can make it better. And it's supposed to help to people who actually think about the redesign of the interface and also the people who actually create the program itself, because there's a lot of things are wrong in the graphical interface, which serve the purpose to to make the user experience and better or actually good, and also let us operate the machine and the program itself. And so I'll tell you a little bit what I think is wrong here and what should be fixed. Okay, this is the UCCNC screen, which you will see if you buy the CNC just like that. And this is the one that you might get actually without the letters over it. If you buy a Stepcraft machine, you might get actually this screen set. And what's like, you might say, you like, this screen set is basically, they did it in a way that they kind of had the common user in mind, like basically a beginner who actually needs, who doesn't need everything to control everything on a machine, probably doesn't have a machine with like 6 or 7 coordinates. They have a stepcraft, they have like a 3 or 4. And so they kind of try to simplify it, while this is like a fully loaded user interface where everything you can get. And you can control like crazy machines with this. So that's why this is a little bit too, like, a little bit packed, a little bit more than this one. And that's the difference between them, okay? It's a main difference between them, although they basically serve the same purpose. Each of them have a problem, and I'll address them now. If you create whatever screen or actually graphic user interface like these two, what you have to think about is you have to kind of think about the function that it should serve for, and then the functions kind of group them together. The grouping help you to organize the user interface for yourself, and also, for most importantly, for the users who will use it, because you want to let them to use the program the naturally, right? Like the most the easiest way, and so you kind of put those together. And if you do it, when you do it, you kind of find the groups, and then you find the most important buttons, and which are the most critical buttons, like stop, reset, and play, or actually start the cycle. And you put them together, right? You kind of make them bigger because they are the most important. Like people should find it really quick if anything happens, right? Because why would you enlarge I don't know, like G59 to this, like to a big size where like almost no people use it, right? Like just like a few people use it, or like everybody uses G54. So you won't make it bigger. Like you make the reset big, right? Which is big, which is good. And they made it big as well here. But when you think about it, like let's continue. Okay, so they made the reset, and the most important bits are what are the most important bits. So I made this. I just made these letters here that kind of help us to understand the interface a little bit better and kind of find what is the most important. The most important is the reset button, right? All I agree on that. It's just the button that you need to press or unpress when you start or stop the machine and something wrong happens, right? And the second most important actually on CNC is home, where you basically need to home the machine, right? Like every now and then, and like you just need to do it because the machine should kind of home itself. So this is the second most important button. The third most important is probably start, right? Because you start the machine and you stop the machine. That's the most common tasks you do on the machine, right? You just load the file and you process it. If it's all fine, just use those buttons, right? You stop the machine, everything is fine. You just do another work. You press play and start and stop and start and stop and start and stop and eventually reset if you want to reset it or home it again. So these are the most important buttons. They should be close together. Like the G54, like these buttons are also important, but that's not that important. I'm just like them, probably might just delete it for now. Why they put the home button outside of the group of the most important buttons, I don't know, that's nonsense. Why they put like this like sparely used or maybe completely unused in many cases and closure safety on right here, this is nonsense. It shouldn't be there, right? It's all wrong. Why they put a logo on the same spot like the most important parts? Maybe they wanted to make themselves important, but they are not as important on the machine. I don't care if whoever this does this screen, right? This huge Stepcraft logo and other kind of logo here, it's nonsense as well. We need a space for the buttons and for the functions, not for the logo, right? This is horrible. This is unthinkable, basically. And if you look at this part, right, like this is we said that these, keep in mind what is important, okay? It's like reset, start, home, and stuff. So we have a reset here, like let's say this is the group that we look for those buttons, right? You look for stop, that's here, that's okay. We have a start right on the top, which makes sense. It's kind of easier to find because it's in the corner. And if we continue, like we have override limit, which is not super critical, but it kind of makes sense here because it's close to reset and you need to kind of sometimes press the override limit together with reset, which I don't think it's good on this position, it should be somewhere else, but it kind of makes sense. Offline mode, it's not a critical button, it shouldn't be here. Run from here, it's not a critical button, shouldn't be here. And field hold is all of a sudden right here, while single line is here. It's just a mixture of functions. They shouldn't be grouped together, right? It's not done well. And if we keep talking about the grouping by the function, say load file, for example, edit file, rewind file, close file. I mean, I show it to you right away because I kind of know this interface, but if you look at it, like if you look here and there, will you be able to find the load, edit, rewind, and close files together? No, you won't, because they are basically mixed together with other unrelated buttons, although they are in line. But what if you want to use the function reload, which they have here in this interface? Will you find it? No, you won't, because the reload, it has nothing to do with this 3D screen, although it's kind of packed in the group with the together with the 3D screen. It's right here. It doesn't look like a button that you can press. It just looks like a text. It should be close together. You see, it's not grouped well. Same thing right here, for example, like the 0 or save Z and go to 0 home, or like all together with the coordinates, okay? This means like you set up the coordinations of the machine. So this button, for example, if you press 0 or it resets that setup, which is good. It is on the right place. Like if you press save Z, the machine moves, nothing one change here. It changes because of the nature of the machine, but it has nothing to do with the setups. It basically moves the machine. Go to 0 moves the machine, and home moves the machine. It has nothing to do with the setups. It's more like it should be close somewhere to the buttons which like play and or actually start and stop the machine, right? They should be close together because by function they should be close together. Okay, let's look at this thing. The same questions. Okay, load file, edit file, rewind file, close file all together. What the warm-up is doing here, I don't know, but it's just they had the space, they put it there. It's not a good reason to put a button on a space where there is a space. The button should be on a place where it makes sense, where it's grouped together with the others, where you have the same function. If you don't have a place, you have to redo the design. That's unfortunate, but you should do it this way. You should think about the design this way, okay? That's not like I have a place, I'll put there. Like if there will be place, will you put the reset button right here? You won't. because you want to press the button in the corner where you can easily find it and press it. This is the way that you have to think about it. Like grouping, okay. What else we have here? We have like the LEDs here, which kind of are related to something. So what is for e-stop? What is related with? It's related with this button actually. Why it is here? Like if you press this button, I'm not gonna search through this whole screen to find if it's running or not. This e-stop should shine right here, close to it. Same with run should start close to this thing. Home should be close to home all. You should group those things together. I know why they put it together, because they are all sort of LEDs information, okay, like a smart lights, that kind of, but you group them by the form. You can't group stuff on a user interface by form, by how it look like, but more like how it function. You can't do it this way. This is not good design, like graphic user interface. You have to repeat yourself: is this good graphic user interface? Am I creating good graphic user interface that helps people to navigate? And it's not about like, I need to put all the buttons on this space, and how can I do it? Like you can use like kind of Excel stuff and just like fill up all the rows and tabs, and then you'll be fine. This is not Excel, it's user interface, okay? Grouping, you see, grouping, they kind of group the stuff right here, and they kind of try to help themselves with the color of the surrounding color, which they kind of broke the rule they set up earlier, while they use the green line around it that has the meaning. The green color is a start button, while they use the blue button right here. If you look at the papers, then you realize that the blue actually can be used on a reset, which is kind of weird, but that's what they wrote there. Like the orange color here is used for basically this interface has orange, maybe because it's a stepcraft. They use the orange all over without thinking really, because the orange kind of here is used as like a grouping, as a grouping function, while here is a background, while there is like again grouping function, while here is like a button, sort of like active state. Here they use it for no reason on input fields, while input fields have here, why they have input field here like a white. So it kind of mix match logics and colors for whatever reason they decide to. This is not how the user interface should be done, right? At least here they have it like really readable. This is super cool. I mean, super cool, not super cool, but it's at least super usable. So you can read it. This is kind of hard to read. Then the contrast is not good enough. Well, it's really on the edge. See, and then also the input is also kind of similar to what the input is right here. And the inputs kind of, they could do it better, definitely, because different color, while it's kind of same. It's an input where you put where you can write or rewrite the text and the numbers and then change it. While here they use once they have the black on orange, once they have their like orange on white. Why is that orange? That's complete nonsense. You can't use orange color on names because it will almost never have enough efficient contrast for readability. That's super absurd. And it's even worse, speaking of readability, on these buttons where you basically have orange text with orange background, border on the gray. background, which makes it even harder to read. And even more, they well, I'll switch this off. They wrote the letters in 90 degrees angle, which is obviously super hard to read. Same thing right here. They even made the letters smaller, so that once they use it bigger, once they make it smaller, whatever they decide, they like make it unreadable right here. If I scale it, I know it's JPEG, it's completely blurred, but it won't be readable anyway. So they why you use it? I mean, don't do that. Like no reason. Like if it's unreadable, redo it. Like don't use it just like people might focus. Like no, people won't focus. People need to work. Again, back to these things. This is 90 degree. This is even worse, like MACH. How can I read that? I can't really read it. ZERO, like, yeah, I know I can read it like this, but this is not how it should be done, maybe. And there is like one line which is like kind of underscore. This is not underscore. It kind of should kind of change the color when it's on. Just nonsense. Like these lines are nonsense. That doesn't tell you really that it's on. If you want to make it on, just make it all green or like change the color or like something like this. Button should be, by the way, all green, not like this. Where here they don't use the common standards like the color standards. So this should be green, this should be red. This is all kind of following the standards. They kind of sort of follow the standard. You see, this is red. If I go to the design and and then something stays in the way or a little bit, and if I want to stop the machine, this to me is almost the same thing. Like I might feel like this is stop, and you might say, yeah, I'm stupid. Of course it's not stop. Stop is close to reset. Really, the warm up is close to load files anyway. Like, and the zero here is close to reset anyway. The override limits looks like it belongs to this part. So you see the grouping, the functional grouping is not done well at all. Plus, for example, like let's talk about the functions again, like the grouping. Like you see here, what I don't know if you know what that means, but this is like a Spindle start, okay? I don't know, it doesn't look like Spindle, it doesn't tell me anything about rotation. It's just like a kind of button, but they made it this way. So the problem why the button, what is the problem on this button? There are many, okay? But one of them is that if you stop the machine and you press the cycle start again, and you might forget actually to turn the spindle on. And if that happens, you might do two things. You might press the reset button all like immediately, because that's the safest way what you can do. Or you can simply start the spindle, right? Like, yeah, I have a time, for example, I'm not in the material, like buried in the material. I can still press the spindle, but you won't, because you won't find it in this design, right? Because it's buried somewhere else, and you most likely will be afraid that you won't press it. Because if it's on a touch screen, and then because the button is super small, you'll be afraid that you press one of these, like you might, instead of pressing this button, you might press the cooling, because the button is super small, or you might not find it on time. So this button, what I'm saying is that the spindle start should be close to start button, because it makes it's usable this way. It helps us to not break the bit, not break the material and stuff like that. It's like the spindle's CVC, it's right here as well. It's on the wrong place. You can find it only because it's somewhere on the edge of the group of the buttons. That's what helps you to kind of find it. Same with the cycle, but normally, like, does it mean that every button on the corner is kind of that button that I'm looking for, like the X, for example? You can't really use it this way. Like, you can't just use the corner of the group as the most important thing, while it should really be done like in a green or somewhere else completely. What else we have here? The contrast and the way how it's written. the letters, the names. This is also important. You can't really use all the capital or all writing in capitals because it won't help us. Like it's like if you screen all the time. The language is like if you talk you talk in a normal level, and then if you want to say something like that people see it, then you kind of increase your voice, right? This is like increasing voice, but you increase the voice on all the buttons. You can't do it. It's hard to read. It's even like formally, it's hard to read these things, because if you compare the way how, like if we go here and you compare this is hard to read for many reasons, and one of the reasons is that all the letters here are on the same level, while here it's like a kind of bumpy, and that's actually for good reason, because this helps you to read the text faster. If the book will be written all in caps, you won't be able to read the book. The book is written like this because that helps us to speed up the reading, the navigation through the text, through the buttons, for whatever you have. Plus, the problem in these things is that when you have it like this, you have to consciously think about it. You have to really read the text and understand it, which takes some time, and you don't have that time probably when you work on a machine, right? You just need to press it. It's like grab the hammer really quick, or press the reset button or something. You really don't have to think. You shouldn't think about it. You should really just do it. And this style of a user interface makes you think that it's wrong. This is a little bit better because it helps you to read it, but it means you have to understand what the CV is and CCV is, like consciously think about it, it's wrong. While if you use these buttons, like even small kid will understand it, that this is rotating to right, this is rotating to left, and you don't have to think about it like really consciously. It's just like a subconscious. That's why we use icons, right? To kind of use that subconscious part of our mind that help us to act faster and easier. So that should be redone. This shouldn't be really like written all in caps, should be redone. And then contrast, right? This is like a super poor contrast, is unusable. Orange on white or gray, wow, like this is completely bad, but this is a little bit better, but it's also not good. Like you can have white text on pale blue buttons, while like that doesn't make sense. Okay, I mean that makes sense, but it's not readable enough. For some people it might be completely unreadable, especially when you use this like a green shining border around it. This is like the button itself right now, it's unreadable. Like there are three informations which are mixed up together on a super small space. This is super wrong. And in this design, for example, they also use the color wrong because they mismatch the functions which on the colors together. Like the main here says this button is, or this function or the button, whatever, is active, and they use as a sign of active button, they use blue color, while here they use blue color for all of the buttons. So does it mean that all these buttons are on? No, that doesn't mean that they are on. What means that are on is greeting, they're just wrong anyway. But you see, they mix match the functions, the way how they use colors. The same thing as I said before here. They use the orange for various reasons, while the reason, the color should keep the same reason. It shouldn't be anything else than what it is. In any case, while green things can't mean in other situation that it stops something, right? That's nonsense. And then it's the same thing with orange color. You can't do it this way. What we have here, like the LEDs, like these, if you don't know, this is like this shining. It's like when you have something on, when the machine is running, the run will shine right here, right? It's like will shine that it's on. And then if you press reset, on the e-stop will be on. You see how far they are from one another. If this should really say, if this belongs to something, it should be there. where it belongs, right? It's like they put it together because they are like a formula same like LEDs, but they really should belong a bit close to where they actually make sense, like e-stop to reset, to run to e-cycle, jog to somewhere to jog, sync to sync, probing somewhere where the probing is like I don't know where the probing is, right here, and stuff like that. It should be all together. Like this is not well thought and well done. Like the reload, as I think I mentioned that already. Like the icons here are also not understandable completely because they like what size is what size. Like take apart, like if you put aside that if you press from like button from like the view from top, the model will be maybe like turned 90 degrees or something like that, and you cannot change it. It's another problem with that interface. This is not understandable. Okay, so you say you are super critic, why don't you make something, why don't you change it, and why don't you make it better, right? Because you can actually do it in the UCCNC. You can change the interface and make it better. So what I did is, some of you might know it, I did this design where I kind of follow the rules that I kind of critique here, where I grouped the critical, the most important buttons together, made them large, because you need them large, right? Because you use them all the time. You don't want to press anything else than that. So they kind of follow the common logic, right? There are certain colors you can use for certain buttons, like green, as I said, for play. You can't use green for stop, and the stop is visibly red. And so if whatever, like if you work in a machine and you just look at it and you want to stop it really quick, you find the stop button really quick. You find it in an instant, and not only you, but also people who don't know the machine well. If they come to that machine and you tell them like stop the machine, because I don't know what, they look at the screen and I just press the red button. Well, if you go here and you say stop the machine, what they do, if they are lucky, they press the reset button, right? They won't find the stop button. They might find the stop button right here. It's a little bit better for now because like it's bigger. What I did is I grouped them by function, right? Like the user buttons are together, the macros are together, the G54, 59, whatever, are together. Like the ATC are together. The file, the functions that, or the buttons that corresponds to the work with files are together and are visibly different than the others, so you won't miss it. It's just like, this is also really common, like you load file, you rewrite file, you close file, right? This is something that you do and you want to find it really quick. As I said, the LEDs, I put them on the place where they belong, right? The LED is right here. When the TLS really hits the sensor, or the tool hits the sensor, the shines here. It doesn't shine somewhere here because I put the LEDs right here. No, I put them on the right place. The digitizing, the same thing, aligning, right? You save space, you make the interface more understandable. You just like try to make it and move the safety out of the place, right, to a place where it belongs. Like there is a place where nothing is basically, and so the least important things like safety box, if it's closed or not, can be right here, not here. You see, and then also the input, like I mentioned right here, like the contrast is different. The contrast is increased, right? I have a like white letters on the, like black letters on a white background, super contrasty. You can't really like make it better. The input, they all keep the same logic. While if there is input, there's a gray background, right? It all tells you this is input, this is input, this is input, this is input, at all input, right? It's like they have different colors for different, like for inputs. You can't do that. It's like doesn't tell you really that is the similar thing. So I made this interface. Some of you, as I said, might know it. Some of you might use it already, and which I tried to make it better. I'm not saying this interface is the best interface ever, and it's definitely way more readable, way faster to navigate through than this one, way better than this one. And if you look at if you say like, yeah, I'm like bitching around about the UCCNC, but what about Mac? Have you seen the Mac? Yeah, I've seen the Mac. This is Mac 3 and 4. This is completely unthinkable. This is even like dangerous. The Mac 4 is dangerous because reset is gray, and while it should be either a red or yellow or a combination. This it's like somebody comes to this machine and want to stop the machine quick. They will fail. They will basically break the machine because they will press something else. They will not press the reset at all because the reset is not understandable that it is reset, and this is like horrible. This is unthinkable. I'm not speaking about Mach 3 or 4. This is insane to use. Say, you see, there is a lot of things, and I think I'm probably forgot to mention something. I'll turn my helps that I made for myself. You see, I think I went through all of them. This is like a mixture, color problems, similar disperse functions, unreadability, wrong colors, mixture of coding, like color coding, wrong color coding. Okay, I'm fine with that. And I think I mentioned all, which means definitely not everything, but in general, you see, there are so many problems that I mentioned, and there is a lot more that I don't want to mention because it'll be super long. Like if you make your own tweaks to the design, think about these things, okay, that I said actually. Don't do it in a way that I need a button, something critical for me, and then you put it somewhere in the middle of the interface because there's a space. You have to do it in a way that if anybody will come to that machine, they will not have a hard time to find what they need to find. Okay, don't use crazy stuff like this, like with small letters, which is unreadable. Don't like the interface should follow common logic. Like look at the interface, what kind of visual language they use, and keep that language. Don't make crazy stuff like don't put logo on a button or like on a reset button, which I've seen somewhere. Don't do these crazy things. Like think about it and make it. And also the same applies to people who actually program the UCCNC program. Hire UI designer. Don't sell stuff which is better than Mac 3 or 4 visually, but still far from perfect. Okay, this should be redone. At least like the common standards should be followed, and do it. Like please do redesign the design. Think about it. It's not a sandbox where you put the buttons wherever you have a space. You have to think about it like from the user experience perspective, and redo and do the design this way. This is not. This will save us tools, money, time, brain cells if you do it right. Okay, this is the way how it is now. It's really painful to use. I guess there'll be many people who understand what I'm saying this, and they will agree. Like in both cases, this is completely. When I saw this, I was reading really hard when I saw it, and then I was so happy to realize that I can redo it, that it's possible, and I did. So think about it. Run your machine safe. Help maybe me with the Screenset if you find something that is not well done. Maybe the small buttons, I know they are too small for the touch screen. It's hard to press. I know about it. I'll fix it. Like if you think about these screens from the touch screen perspective, this is really unusable. This is usable only in this part, but this is crazy, man. Like if you have this on touch screen, and the touchscreen. I mean, what you do is like you buy like a super huge screen just for the fact that they made the UI bad, that they made the buttons really small. If they do it right, you don't need that large screen that you have it now, right? You can have like a way small. I have like a 15-inch screen with this thing, and it gives me enough space that I can safely press the buttons that I want to press, and I'm not pressing anything else than what I want to. Like if I have this thing, I'll press probably 4 at once. Yeah, okay, whatever. Happy machining. Enjoy your machine, and hopefully you find a screen set or they make it better so we won't be upset when we use that program as much as I am right now.